when the 16th Karmapa, who was the head of the Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism, which is the training ground from whence I come, was asked by one of our students, what does an enlightened person experience? What a great question, right? Like if you had Serena Williams, what does a tennis champion experience? You know. So what does an enlightened person experience? Karmapa 16 said, impermanence. Like that was the flavor, the texture of the experience of enlightened mind, is recognizing that things are changing, the situation's fluid, nothing's written in stone, and that you can therefore adapt and always move towards a more accurate, more helpful, more powerful way of looking at reality and your relationship to it. So that's why we call this, the title of this section is Be Fluid and Adaptable. Impermanence is pervasive. So this is kind of a counterpoint. We were looking at sort of getting grooved and making our plans, and you remember we had vision as the top shelf, then strategy coming down, planning and execution. But the piece that we missed and that we have to add in at this point is, what about if things change? And you have your beautiful vision, you have your brilliant strategy, you have your masterful plan, you're executing optimally as best you can, but something has changed. I'll give you an example from my own painful past. The record business changed dramatically as I got into trying to have my own record labels. So I talk about this quite a bit in the book. And I based my approach on a record business that actually had morphed 10 years earlier, and I had to adapt and change. And that means sometimes just really loosening up the saddle on your horse, resituating yourself, maybe even doing a different plan, a new plan. So we're looking at impermanence as a teacher in this situation, not as an obstacle. And we're saying that if you're fluid in your state of mind, if you don't lock on too hard to a particular attitude or point of view or plan, that you become a dynamic operative. So when we're talking about the kind of balance that we're talking about in this book, the notion is that the balance is a dynamic balance. It's not just like you achieve it and then you sort of freeze it. We're talking about being very fluid. So of course, one of our quotes in this section of the book is from Bruce Lee, who very fluidly actually adapted traditional Chinese martial arts and kind of evolved them as he went. And his famous quote was, "Be like water, my friend, be like water." Fluid and adaptable. So that's an interesting, it's interesting to contemplate how strong water is, even though it wraps itself around any obstacle. It's not what we usually think of as strength. We think of as sort of rigid and tight. But here we're sort of borrowing this idea that this makes you stronger if you're fluid and adaptable.